Welcome to week one of the Climate Tech Inc. NFL Prediction Show. I'm Cole McDaniel. Alongside me, Vince McKee. Of course, you have the president here of Key On Sports and the vice president. And Vince, everybody out there who they've been paying attention to our stuff since last year when the season ended for the NFL. We did our last show. A lot has changed since that time. Around that time, we had just started our YouTube channel. Our last show of the season, we actually had it on YouTube. Now, this year, we get to take the Climate Tech Inc. NFL Prediction Show up a notch. Make sure to subscribe on the YouTube channel. Vince, great to be with you here once again.
Absolutely, Cole. Make sure to give yourself plenty of credit on this one. It was completely your idea to have to look at this mug for the next 17 straight weeks. So kudos to you. Can't wait to get it rolling. I know this is something we've talked about for a long time. We've been testing out. You've been doing a tremendous job with high school football. And now we get to do what we love and do best.
Yeah, and a big shout out to Climate Tech Inc. again for being a sponsor once again for this show. Vince and I love competing against each other. We love this show, enjoy it every year. But we're going to hop right in just after we talk about Climate Tech Inc. And for 48 years, family-owned and operated Climate Tech has been the premier company for all HVAC services. For both residential and commercial, they have it covered. They offer free estimates on equipment replacement and 24-hour emergency service. Visit them at climatetech.com. So Vince, as we get the week one started, the last 2 years, you've been able to come out on top here in the prediction show. So year one and year two, I actually both years, about halfway through the season, had a slight lead on you. And then you turn up the heat and get things going the latter stages of the year. This year, again, I'm looking to get revenge, but what I can say is this. Even though you got me the last 2 years, they've been close both times. So it's going to be a matter of seeing how we start off, because how we start has never been how we finished, but it will be interesting to see how week one goes.
Well, perennial slow starter, Cole. I'm used to being a slow starter, but I'll tell you what, I've noticed that my picks seem to increase once the teams level out a bit, and once high school football is over. We're being closer to being over when I could put more attention on the NFL like it deserves. So, hey, let's see what kind of lead you jump out to this year.
Absolutely. So we're going to start off with college football as we begin this, and then we're going to go over to the NFL. We did this last year, not the year prior, but we got to incorporate 3 college football games a week. I picked the 3 games, one top 25 game, a Big Ten game because we're in Big Ten country, and another game that is quite interesting for any given reason. So I sent those to Vince here the other day, and we'll, just for fun, talk a little bit about those as well. So starting off with the top 25. This is actually a good matchup. It's the only matchup this week between 2 top 25 schools, and that is between BYU and Baylor. So Baylor, the higher ranked team, 9th in the country, they actually head out to BYU on the road against the 21st ranked team. So an interesting game there. Vince, how do you see that one shaking out?
I'm going to go with Baylor simply because, I think BYU kind of sneaked into this top 25 to start the season. Now, if they win, it's a big win for them, and I might see them kind of, maybe creep into the teens possibly. But with that being said, second week of the season, second full week, going to go with Baylor. I just think they're the better team, and we'll see what happens from here.
Right. And Baylor might be the better team, but second game of the season, it's still early. It's tough to play a big matchup like that at home. I'm going to go with BYU. I think they're going to pull it off against Baylor, get the win. Not by much. I have them winning only by 3, 27-24. I think it's going to be a close one, but it is a good matchup in that week one. Switching to the Big Ten. So not a whole lot of big games in the Big Ten for week 2. Nothing like Ohio State, Notre Dame in week 1. But something to pay attention to. A team that struggled this past week, barely got the win over South Dakota State, was Iowa. It took a field goal and 2 safeties for them to win 7-3. But now at home at Kinnick Stadium, they host the Iowa State Cyclones. Vince, how do you see that one going?
It's strange. You would never think that type of thing would happen. I think they're going to bounce back with the win. And my college picks over the years have been horrendous. So I just want to tell everybody at home, don't bet on these. But again, call me a homer, whatever. I'm going to go with the Big Ten on this one. Iowa State's another one of those teams. They might sneak up on you this year. They might be really good. Second week is so hard to judge. A Big Ten team, Cole, and you know this. We've talked about this a million times. Always gets upset in early on in the year. Now, this wouldn't be what I would consider an upset by any stretch, but
No.
going to go with the Big Ten regardless. But you know what I
Okay.
mean? Like a MAC school, like it never fails. Like, you know, it just never fails. A MAC school always ends up knocking somebody off, but we'll see where it goes.
Right. Yeah, and Iowa, they are a 3.5 point favorite at home, and that's just really that home advantage. So really, you look at that game, and things are probably pretty even. The defense of Iowa is strong again, but the offense was struggling so much last week that even at home, I almost find it tough to beat Iowa State in this matchup. So I'm going with the Cyclones. I actually don't think it's going to be too far off on the points. I think it's going to be close down to the wire, but I am going with the Cyclones on the road. Now, wrapping up college football talk before we dive into the meat of this, the NFL. The other game that I want to touch on is because of what Appalachian State did against North Carolina last week. Those two teams put up a combined over 120 points together. I mean, they both scored in the 60s. It took Appalachian State failing on a 2-point conversion for that game to not go to overtime. So UNC escaped a scare there, and Appalachian State showed that they might actually be the real deal. Now they go up against Texas A&M, who's ranked in the top 10. Can the Aggies hold on, or do they get a scare as well?
I think this is a blowout. I think Texas A&M probably watched that game about 3 times already and said, "This is not happening to us." And no matter what, guys, play all 4 quarters. To the best of my knowledge, I did a little research on this. I believe Appalachian State is the only team to ever score 40 points in a fourth quarter of a game and lose. So congratulations to them on that remarkable effort.
Yeah, it's unbelievable how many points they put up in that fourth quarter and still didn't come away with a win in this one against the Aggies. The Aggies shut out Sam Houston when they played this past weekend. So the defense actually performed quite well. The offense, 31 points, not something to scoff at, but it's not quite to the level I expected them to, put up points in a hurry against Sam Houston. So I actually think Texas A&M's offense is going to score more points this week because we saw very little defense from Appalachian State in the last game. But I actually think their defense is going to give up some points. So I have the Aggies still winning, but 56-38, still a high-scoring game, but not quite to the extreme we saw this last time. So again, always fun to talk about college and get to do some picks each week. We'll always do those three games, top 25, Big Ten, and another one.
I wanted to make one super quick point before we get to college football for yourself and me both here. Want to shout out our guy, Drew Alar. Got a little bit of game time there on Thursday night. I know me and Cole were texting back and forth like crazy. Just want to shout out our guy, Drew Alar from Medina. Looked impressive in that one drive. And I think me and you both get the feeling we're going to see a lot of him. But yes, this show is all about the NFL picks. And I know we're going to get to those. But Cole, I just had to throw that out there, my man.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know who got a lot of playing time as well? Strongsville's Blake Miller was starting at right tackle for Clemson the other night. So a big shout out to him. Obviously getting the work in, and there was a little bit of pressure there from Georgia Tech as they were kind of targeting the freshman out there on the far side, but he's going to get comfortable. He's going to settle in, and we know he is a physical presence and dominant, and I expect to see him have a long career down there at Clemson. So a big congratulations to Miller as well.
Yeah, and if you're watching this show with me and Cole, there's a pretty strong chance you follow our high school football content as well. So without a doubt.
Absolutely. So switching over to the NFL, which is the big thing here for our pick show. Of course, we will have the full picks up on the website on keonsports.com, so make sure to go check that out. But again, remember to subscribe here to our YouTube channel as we continue to grow, not only with high school coverage, but all of our shows will be on the YouTube channel throughout this season. But taking a look at this, we always are going to talk about Sunday night football. There's always a good game there on Sunday night. We talked about the Browns. We have an upset pick or two, and we sometimes like to throw in a marquee matchup. Now, I want to start off with the marquee matchup this week because tomorrow it's the Bills and the Rams facing off. So the defending Super Bowl champs versus really the universal favorite to probably win the Super Bowl in the Buffalo Bills. I'll start this off. and what I think is going to happen tomorrow night. And I expect a really good game out of it. But I'm going to say that the Bills do come away with the win. I think that the Rams have a very good team. Obviously, I do question the rumors about Matt Stafford and the elbow pain that he was dealing with. Hopefully he has a big season. I don't think it's maybe anything too big, but I just think that the Bills defense is just as strong as the Rams is. Josh Allen's a whole nother level, and their receiving talents that they have is phenomenal. If they can add that little wrinkle in the run game that they didn't have last year, maybe see James Cook touch the ball a little bit more, they could take it to the next level. But I think they're going to start out fast, and we'll see if the Rams maybe have a little bit of that Super Bowl layover, that lag, even though it's been all off season. So I think the Bills are going to come out. They're going to show up and perform.
Guys, if this is your first time watching the Climate Tech Inc. NFL prediction show, first of all, where the heck have you been? Second of all, welcome in. And third of all, you're going to see a lot of agreeing between us. So if you like those shows where the two hosts are screaming at each other, go somewhere else. Going to start off by agreeing with Cole. What else is new? For all the same reasons you said, quite frankly, they've added the short passing game. We talked about the muscle hamster, on our last show. And we both believe that their defense is much improved of 2 years ago. You look at them being 13 seconds away from that Super Bowl appearance, right? You have to figure any other team's going to put that away. Actually, I think I'm wrong. That wasn't even the AFC Championship game, wasn't it? Wasn't that like was it? Help me out, Colio. Was that the AFC Championship game last year? It wasn't.
No, it was not.
Positive.
No, because the AFC Championship was the Bengals and the Chiefs. So it was the week previously. Right. Yeah.
My apology, but do you see where I'm going? It felt like the game.
Yes,
right?
It did.
So, and me and you are texting back and forth like we always do, never fails. And I'm like, yeah, they're going to change the overtime rule. And sure enough, what happened because of that game? So, long story short, I agree with Cole completely on this one. Definitely going Buffalo. And I play the streaks, and you're going to see a theme here coming up with the Browns shortly. I play a lot of streaks, but this one I'm going to play against the streak, and I'm going to take the defending Super Bowl champions to lose. Yeah. They normally win the Thursday night opener, but I think that ends. I think Buffalo does it. I don't know anything about the elbow soreness with Stafford. That's the great thing about video, because you can see I'm pointing to my elbow. But yeah, I think that's all fluff. We'll see where it goes. Cooper Kupp, though, I mean, he gives you a chance to win no matter what.
Yeah, absolutely. And I enjoy the muscle hamster when it comes to fantasy. Yeah. I think Isaiah McKenzie in the slot is going to have a really, really big year. Now, taking a look at Sunday Night Football, we always love to talk about Sunday Night Football on NBC. Now, something interesting to touch on. Today, the logo for Sunday Night Football has changed. Vince, did you see the logo change?
No, when did that happen?
It happened today, this afternoon. They just changed the logo.
Did not see that. That's incredible. Okay. I'll check it out.
Absolutely. So a little bit different. It's a little bit wider, and just your standard print. Some people love it. Some people hate it. I'm kind of indifferent. Obviously I love Sunday Night Football. I don't think the logo is going to change anything to the product that happens with the game. I think NBC always does a great job. Love seeing those NBC games on Sunday nights. So, but yeah, just a little bit of tidbit there.
Who's our announcers this year? Who's our announcers this year again?
It's
Mike. Was there a switch?
It's Mike Tirico and Chris Collinsworth. So Tirico's just standing in. So yeah, I think that's still good. I mean, I liked Al Michaels. I really did. I thought he and Collinsworth were great together. But Tirico's good enough to stand in there. They don't change anything with Collinsworth, and we saw Tirico for half the season anyway last year.
And yeah, especially the COVID year. I think he did like 7 games. Yeah, no doubt about it. Cool.
Yeah, for sure. Good. So this Sunday night, the game they're going to be calling has to do with the Cowboys and the Buccaneers. Now, this could be really, really interesting between these two. I was kind of on the fence and split, going back and forth. I picked the last one first. Vince, I'll toss it over to you. We'll see if we're on the same page, but I could easily see us being on different pages here.
I'll tell you what, despite being a 2-time champion, no team has screwed me over more than the Dallas Cowboys, and yet I continue to pick them, and here we go again. I'm picking the Cowboys here, and it has nothing to do with the Tom Brady Giselle Boonchen, whatever her name is, drama. I could care less.
Right.
If anything, that kind of stuff motivates Tom Brady and helps him laser focus. I just think this is the year the Cowboys do it. I see a lot of weird things with my picks, picking in for some streaks, picking against some streaks. But Dallas, man, do they always lose the opener, and they find a way to lose it. This year, I think they finally get it done. I think they're head and shoulders the best team in that division. I don't even think it's close. There's always a lot of hype behind Philadelphia, maybe just based where they're at in the country. I don't know. Going with Dallas. Other than no reason, again, I talked about Buffalo losing with 13 seconds on the clock last year, right? That game should have been theirs to advance the playoffs. Same thing with Dallas. You know, I'm not that guy who screams at his TV, but I remember screaming at Dak Prescott. That play could have worked. We ended up running out of time because he ran down the middle of the field, no timeouts. Technically, you can make that play work if he went down sooner. He had the right idea. Mentally, he just ran a little bit too long and ended up shooting himself in the foot. All that aside, I'm hoping that motivates him. But I'll tell you one thing, Cole. I'm not likes to fire the coach guy. I'm telling you right now, if Dallas doesn't get it done this year, McCarthy, he's out. I mean, Jason Witten had a near decade there, for the love of God. But Mike McCarthy, I just don't. His personality, unlike Jason Witten's. I'm sorry, what am I saying? Not
Garrett. Jason Garrett.
My fault. Thank you. Unlike Jason Garrett, who doesn't stir the pot and light the flame and all that stuff, McCarthy, you better win or you're out.
Yeah, absolutely. Mike McCarthy is definitely on the hot seat. We know he's a good enough coach. Obviously, he's experienced, but is he the guy that can do it in this current NFL? You and I have talked about this conversation before. You've got to adjust with how the game adjusts, and I don't think Mike McCarthy is that guy. Andy Reid does it. Some other guys do it. But Mike McCarthy just hasn't seemed to quite take it to the next level that he needs to be successful. So we'll see if he does this year. They're still going to have plenty of talent. The defense is going to give up yards, but they're going to force turnovers. You're going to see them try to throw the ball a lot. I question if Zeke's going to have that big of a year. He's still that starting running back there. We might see Tony Pollard a lot, but I think we're going to see still a lot of Dak airing it out, even with Michael Gallup and his injury issues, and James Washington and his injury issues. Watch out for CeeDee Lamb, Dalton Schultz, and Jalen Tolbert to be very busy early on as they try to get things done. They come in at home as an underdog to Tampa Bay. A lot of people were saying it's going to be the Bills and the Buccaneers in the Super Bowl. And now in the last couple of weeks, after Tom Brady, all of his stuff's going on, and all of the offensive line injuries that the Buccaneers are dealing with, people are starting to change course, and I'm starting to hear some of the New Orleans Saints are going to win the division. I think there's really two big extremes there. I don't think the Buccaneers get to the Super Bowl. I don't. But I don't think they allow the Saints to win the division yet. The Saints have a good defense. They have good pieces around Winston, but Winston's not the guy to get you there to win the division. They're going to be in the hunt, but it's still going to be the Buccaneers that division's going to go through. Even if they lose more games than what they did last year during the regular season, I still think they get there. Their problem is this, though. Against a good Dallas team week 1 on the road, even though they're favorites, I do wonder if Tom Brady's not going to be as sharp as he usually is. I wonder if it's going to be easier for Micah Parsons and that defense to get pressure on him with the changes at offensive line because of those significant injuries, such as Jensen up the middle. I mean, Haney, who from Notre Dame is a young guy, hasn't had much experience, and he's going to be standing in there. So I think they can exploit that. And because of that reason, I'm taking the Dallas Cowboys. I think they're going to have big plays on offense. I think they're going to be able to generate the pressure they want. But the Buccaneers, it's nothing to be concerned about if they don't look good in week 1. They're going to win their division this year. I'm almost confident about that. So, yeah.
One week this season. Oh, go ahead. Sorry,
we're both on the same page again. You know, first 2 games, we both agree there.
Well, and not only that, Cole, and this is, a conversation we've had numerous times about Jameis Winston. I just don't think he's the guy to lead the Saints, period. And people forget they got a new head coach, too. So, Winston, new head coach, a lot of combustible elements there. How healthy is Michael Thomas ever going to be again? This is a guy who's had a lagging injury for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot. There's a lot of moving parts. And again, for Sunday Night Football, one of the things me and you need to do 1 week, if not a few weeks, let's get together for Sunday Night Football. Watch the first half at a sports bar somewhere. go back to either your house or my house afterwards because you know it and I know it. That is by far my favorite game of the week. I know it is yours too.
Yes.
I love Thursday night college football. I can never get enough of, no matter who's playing. And Sunday night NFL. Just sign me up, ready to go, ready to feast on some Sunday night football this year.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be a good one in week one. Speaking of some good ones, I'm going to switch over to the upset picks. And we're going to talk about our main upset picks. And I'll be honest, the one I had, I didn't think you took this pick. So that's the one I went with. But I have another one that I thought you might have gone with, and we would talk it over as well. So I'll start with my upset. I'll toss it to you for your upset pick, and then I've got something else I want to talk about as well. So my upset pick here, in a team that has a lot of talent, I like the talent they have. I still think their division's very tough, and I don't trust their quarterback. I don't think they should have made the change. I'm not convinced about the 49ers this year, which is funny because I actually had been big on the 49ers in past years. But with a very similar roster, I don't trust Trey Lance. I really don't, because I watched his film when he was coming out as a rookie, as a prospect, and then became a rookie. I actually think that Jimmy G just does a good job of not turning the ball over too much, managing that offense. And I think things are really going to change with Trey Lance. And I wonder if things are going to get a little bit crazy and not as methodical, precise as what they want on offense. And maybe it puts more of a strain on their defense because of turnovers. So we'll see what happens there. I wouldn't be surprised if Jimmy G ends up being the starter again at some point in the season, which would be crazy because they're trying to hand over the reins to Trey Lance. I think Trey Lance is going to be in for a shock in his first week of playing because he really hasn't had much time out there on the field. They're going up against the Chicago Bears, and the Bears are not as bad as people make them out to be. Yeah, their offensive line still needs some work. They still need to keep adding weapons. Fields is developing, though. I think Cole Kmet's going to have a big year, but their defense is still not a bad defense. I see a low-scoring game, and that being one of those shocking upset games for people. So I'm going Bears over 49ers in week one.
The first week is always loaded with upsets. It's 16 games, and I'd say you could just count on, if you just go by the Vegas lines alone and straight up picks. I'm not going off the lines, but the underdogs, I'd say you could count on at least 6. 5 to 6. You're gonna see it week one every single year. No problem at all. That is wild to me that you say that. I have a different upset pick, but I want to throw that out there. I am taking the 49ers in that game, and you'll, as Cole said in the beginning of the show, you'll see that in the article I put out. But there was no need to switch quarterbacks. How do you get that close to the Super Bowl for the second time in what would I think been 3 or 4 years, and you switch your quarterback? I just don't get it. I'm not a huge Trey Lance fan to begin with. I love Justin Fields. You know that. I don't think the Bears are going to be nearly as bad as people think. But all that being said, I will take San Francisco. However, Cole, I'm going to go ahead and tell you the 2 upset picks that I could see happening, but I ended up picking another team anyways. I have Cincinnati over Pittsburgh. Won't be shocked if Pittsburgh wins that one. And the other one that jumped out to me, even though I love Kansas City, and I actually think Kansas City is another team that is going to be a lot better than people think this year. I do believe that Arizona, they are 6-point underdogs at home to Kansas City. And while I may not pick Arizona in that game, you'll know when the article comes out. Arizona should be able to win, right? At home, 6 points. That's a lot there. That's a lot. So those games I would say watch out for. As we said earlier, we both picked Dallas. That's technically an upside pick as well at home against Tampa Bay. I'm gonna lay my flag in the ground here though, and take New England. I absolutely love Mac Jones. According to Yahoo, as of now, New England is a 3.5-point underdog on the road to the Miami Dolphins. I think Bill Belichick, when you give him an entire offseason to prepare for one game, he never really loses divisional games, very rarely. The only thing I'll say is this, and again, New England's my pick, going with New England as my upset pick. The only thing I will say that makes me nervous about this pick, quite frankly, is that they do tend to lose to Miami early in the year when it's really hot. I don't know what it does, but for whatever reason, Miami seems to play better at home against New England. However, that being said, though, I just feel like, to me, it's the safest pick. New England had a disaster of an ending last year after a red-hot start, had that long winning streak midway through the season. But I think they really tapered off, but I just feel like they're going to be a playoff team. They'll be right there with Buffalo again, maybe a few games less in the win column, but I do see New England going on the road and beating Miami.
Yeah, very interesting. I have the Dolphins winning that game. And by the way, I'm not going to necessarily put out an article for everybody out there watching or listening, but I am probably planning on putting up a tweet here, maybe the end of tonight or tomorrow. A tweet also put on Facebook, of course, tag Keon Sports on there. So if you want to check out Keon Sports, you can see what I think. I'm going to put out the records of what I expect for all the teams, who I expect to go to the Super Bowl, what I expect to see from this season. And I actually think the Patriots might actually struggle. So you and I are a little bit different there when it comes to that. Here's something else that might be interesting for people. Yes, the Chiefs are probably a lock to make it to the playoffs, but I don't think they're locked to win their division this year. Their division's loaded. And the Los Angeles Chargers showed their ability on offense last season, but that defense got so loaded with adding Khalil Mack on the opposite side of Joey Bosa, J.C. Jackson at corner. They continue to develop and build and grow. I think the Chargers actually win the AFC West, and the Chiefs come in second and become really in that wild card spot, probably that top wild card team. But I think you're going to see the little bit of a difference with the Chiefs and how they're not quite as explosive this year on offense. They're still going to be good, but I think they're going to take a step back, and you're going to see it when they lose to the Cardinals here in week 1 at Arizona. Arizona last year had a really hot start to the year, first half of the season. Then they started to drop off. Wouldn't be surprised to see Arizona start hot once again, win at home over the Chiefs, because we always see upsets. And then, like I said, start to fall off once it gets later in the season. But I also think that the Cardinals do win that one.
Yeah, they can't seem to win in December. I don't know what it is. I don't like their head coach either. I think he's overrated.
Right.
But we've had that conversation a million times. It's over.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Absolutely. So there's some good ones. Week 1 always has opportunities for upsets. Sometimes when you get later in the season, you get closer to the playoffs, it's harder to pick that upset game. But in this one, you and I just talked about it. There were honestly 5-6 games that you and I were both kind of taking a look at and trying to figure out which ones we would pick for our upset selections.
Last year I nailed 5. I'll never forget it. And I don't gamble. I kind of wish I did that week. I don't. But like I looked at it, I'm like, man, I nailed 5. 5 for 5. Your power 5 we were talking about there.
Yeah. Right.
The 5 for 5. Anyways, yeah, but I remember I'm like, yeah, I'm like, sweet. So like I know week 1, you can just count on it. And by the way, Cole, before we get to the Browns game, where can fans follow you on Twitter? Because I'm sure they're going to be staring at their phones between now and whenever you put up those standings.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can find me on Twitter at CDM2910. Again, I believe actually CDM_2910. So almost forgot my Twitter handle here for a second. But you always see me tagged in things, or you can see the likes and the retweets from Sports Key on Twitter, so you'd easily be able to find my post here later, because I'm sure Vince will retweet them from our company page.
If you follow Sports Key 1 or follow me personally, Vince McKee on Facebook, you know about 18 different ways to get a hold of Cole McDaniel. You'll be fine. I'm pretty sure I've tagged this guy and stuff before I knew you. I was tagging Cole McDaniel. I'm like, I'll meet this guy one day. I'm just going to start tagging him now.
Probably, yeah. Absolutely. The tagging master, but I definitely appreciate it. But like I said, you will see that stuff get put up here a little bit later. So getting to the Browns matchup, and I'll be real, I love talking about the Browns, Vince, but I really don't feel like talking about this week 1 matchup. I know it's been all the buzz for everybody out there, and they're all on the edge of their seats, thinking about, oh, this is the revenge game, whether you jumped fan bases over to the Carolina Panthers for whatever strange reason, or if you're still a Brown supporter and you want them to get their revenge over their former quarterback. It doesn't really matter either way. I find it annoying to even talk about it, just because you know how I feel about the situation, but we'll talk briefly. We'll talk briefly anyway. And that is the Browns going down to Carolina and Jacoby Brissett at quarterback. So Vince, how do you feel like this is going to go?
Well, the Browns don't care as much as people think. This is just another team on the other side of the field. Baker Mayfield does though, because he's that kind of guy mentally, and I think in a lot of ways, I think that's what's going to hold him back in life. Period. Constantly holding grudges. However, in a weird sick sort of way, I think this week it's actually going to help. I don't know what it is about the guy. I'm not a fan. Never been. Never will be. But the one thing Baker seems to do is he actually does rally in these situations. I see three things. One, the Browns didn't look overly good in preseason, and I pretty much really don't base anything ever on preseason.
Right.
But with so many changes, new quarterback, new receivers, I kind of wish that it was a 4-game preseason, which I never do because I hate preseason. But I don't think they have enough time to gel. Week 1 on the road is going to be tough. All that aside, Carolina usually starts seasons really good. I think last year they were 3-0 with Sam Darnold to start the year. And the Browns, I hate to say it, and I'm a huge Browns fan, love them, but I can't avoid it. 1-21-1. That number is not going to go away. The Browns are the better team. I think the Browns are light years ahead of Carolina. But the problem is, I don't want to pick against history. Oh God, this is painful. I'm gonna take the Carolina Panthers. I hate that. If Baker Mayfield breaks his leg and Sam Darnold comes in and the Panthers win, it'd be a little bit easier to accept. But again, this game's more so for the fans. I'm telling you guys, the Browns could care less that Baker Mayfield's on the other side of the field.
Yeah, honestly.
Panthers are the pick.
Yeah, I think he cares himself because he feels slighted. But the players on the other side of the field could care less. They just want to get the win and get the job done. And it seems like there's such a big distraction in Carolina right now. There's all these quotes coming out. There's all this, big rah-rah stuff, which people in Cleveland seem to love when Baker first came in. And then it got old very quickly. And it's going to get old in Carolina because they're going to deal with that same stuff. He's tried to be buttoned up for a little bit, but that's not his personality. That's just not how he operates. So it's going to get old, but I think the Browns are just so focused on just playing the game. They're drowning out that outside noise. They're just getting their heads down and working, and that ultimately could be the reason why they come out and win this game. Here's something that I guess I will spoil from when I tweet these things out about. I went through every single game for every team and marked whether it was a win or a loss, and I translated it over to the other team. Carolina, if you don't realize this, the NFC South has a gauntlet this year. The NFC South plays the AFC North and the NFC West. And if you're Carolina, obviously you have to play Tampa twice. You have to play the Saints twice. And then I could easily see them splitting with Atlanta just because it's a division rival. So I actually have the Carolina Panthers going 4-13 this year, Vince. I think they get derailed this season and absolutely hammered. Even if McCaffrey stays healthy and has a good year, I don't think they have the talent to keep up with any of those teams in those other divisions, aside from the Seattle Seahawks, where they should get a win there. So it's going to be a tough year for them. For them, they would love to get off to a hot start, obviously, against the Browns. But I think that Browns defense is good enough that they're going to generate pressure against young offensive linemen, get into the backfield, force Baker to start getting jittery on his really throwing off of his back foot like he typically does and sails things high. And the thing is, that's probably going to result in some interceptions. I wouldn't be surprised if they walk out of that game with 2 picks or so. I just think the defense is going to step up. They're going to do a good job there. The Browns will be able to run the ball enough. But here's my bold predictions for the Browns this year. And I guess we can drop it at the beginning of the season because this is week 1. Jacoby Brissett is obviously going to still have to throw the ball. He loves his tight ends. You're hearing all about David Njoku. But what's so important when you're trying to find an open guy is just somebody who gets open all the time. And you can throw it underneath and just find them in open space. And it doesn't have to be deep. You just have to get to the chains. David Bell, I'm huge on David Bell. But I think the rookie in the slot this year is going to lead the Browns in receptions. Amari Cooper will probably lead the team in yards because he'll have some big plays. But I think David Bell will get the most catches this season, not only because of Brissett, but when Watson comes back, he'll really be into form and settling in. I think you're actually going to see him in the slot come away with a lot of catches, be really useful when it slants, just sitting down in the zone, things along those lines, a lot of 5-10 yard routes. So we'll see what happens there, but I think that the offense is going to be able to get it done. I'm going with the Browns in week 1. It'd be huge for them, and it'd be nice just to put Baker Mayfield, all that talk in the past and not have to worry about it and just move on with life.
Best example I could give you about Baker Mayfield and Carolina being terrible this year. Look back, Browns fans, you know him well. A guy by the name of Jeff Garcia. Jeff Garcia led the 49ers to a playoff victory. Was always a lot of hype behind Jeff Garcia. Never really panned out after that. Came to the Browns with a lot of emotion. Won his first ever his first game as the Browns quarterback. And ironically enough, that is the only time the Browns won opening week back in 04 with Jeff Garcia. Kellen Winslow was on that team as well as a rookie. But the reason why I bring that up is Baker Mayfield reminds me a lot of Garcia, his attitude, his style of play, kind of mediocre with a lot of hype. And I think that's what's going to happen. I think Carolina might get out to a decent start like the Browns did that year. And then, like Cole said, they're going to go right in the tank. I can't see Carolina winning more than 4 or 5 games this year. I do agree. This is the first time I picked against the Browns opening week. Well, I picked Kansas City last year, but I usually almost always pick the Browns week 1, hoping it's going to change. I figured this week I got 16 weeks to play with after this. So if I start off 0-1 against you, it's okay. That is one game. I don't know if I could be any happier losing. So absolutely, go Browns.
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes we just almost have almost all of our picks matching up. But obviously, we talked about a couple different upsets, a couple different games we already had, even a different outcome of what we expect for the Browns game. So again, make sure to go to Sports Key and check out everything there. Also check out CDM_2910 as I'm going to put out what I expect for all of these teams come this season, what I expect for the NFL season. KeyOnSports.com is where you can find the article where all of our picks for this week are going to be up. And make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel here. Big high school football game. I will be at Olmsted Falls as they host Midview on Friday. Can't wait to have everybody watching and listening for that game. So again, make sure to hit that subscribe button so we can continue to grow, continue to take our coverage to the next level. And again, big shout out to Climate Tech Inc. Once again is the sponsor of this show. That's going to wrap it up for week 1 of the show here for us. We have a long season to come. A lot of time left as we can't believe we're already talking about 2023, as this show will continue all the way into 2023. So Vince and I, every week, we will be back doing this, and I'm so happy to be back with you here, Vince. So any final thoughts from you?
Not really. Just smiling ear to ear for a reason, man. And like I said, guys, get ready for this mug for 16 straight weeks because it's Cole McDaniel's fault. This whole idea of switching to YouTube is his brainchild, and I gotta tell you, Cole has worked out to perfection. Thank you for that. And also, fans, I know week 1 we're doing Zoom. A lot of different weeks we'll probably do Zoom, but we're definitely gonna get together like last year. Expect at least 4 or 5 episodes together in person. I know we both have a blast when we do that. So, yep, Cole, as usual, you and Climate Tech, take us home.
Absolutely. So again, shout out to Climate Tech Inc. for being the sponsor of this show, and a reminder that Climate Tech Inc. for 48 years been family owned and operated. They're the premier company for all HVAC services for both residential and commercial. They have it covered. They offer free estimates and equipment replacement and 24-hour emergency service. Visit them at climatetech.com. For myself, Cole McDaniel, as well as Vince McKee, everybody enjoy week 1.